And hello! Welcome to another Raise3D Livestream. Today we are going to be talking about the Hyperspeed upgrade kit for the Pro 3s, and we'll be installing one for the very first time on stream. I do already have one installed on this machine that is currently running now, but I'll still be going through all the steps on how to get an upgrade kit started on this machine, which is still currently in the default stock Pro 3 form right now. So there are a few things I wanted to address before diving right into the upgrade. If you are going from a Pro 3, into the Hyper Pro 3, you're going to want to make sure that this machine is fully up to date before running the upgrade. In the kit, you will get one of these upgrade letters that'll have instructions on how to access the files, how to register the machine for the upgrade, and then it's going to send an email link that'll have options to download all the files and upgrades as well. There are extra instructions there that do specify, again, that you do want to update these machines, but that is the most important thing before running through the rest of this kit. For reference on how to update those machines, I'll go ahead and jump into our website real quick and then pull up those updates. So accessing the updates for the machine first, we do want to hop into our website under resources, and then under support, actually, it's under the download center. We want to make sure that we have our upgrade for the Pro 3 series should be on Raise Touch version 1.6.1, and then also we want the firmware to be on version 1.3.0 of 0.41. To update these, we can go ahead and download them, put them onto the root folder of a USB drive, and then the Raise Touch update is done by having the USB plugged into the side of the screen and then restarting the machine. The motion controller board update is accessed through the print screen like you were starting a G file. But after running those updates, then we're good to go to jump into upgrading the machine. Hyper. Now getting into the Hyper kit and the upgrade for this machine. You're going to want to go through all the instructions on the letter. This is going to have a code for registering that. I've already gone through those steps. It does have a survey as well to fill out, so that can be a little bit longer, but I've already taken care of that. Everything else in the kit is going to have one spool of Hyper. The last part of the upgrade kit good? Yeah. The last part of the upgrade kit is going to be the Hyperspeed Calibrator. So this is going to detect the kinematics of the machine and adjust a frequency for the overall speed. We'll have our upgrader, the two hot ends, and the two spools of material for the machine itself. So you can prepare both of these, have those off to the side. On the machine, we'll need to update that first, then we'll follow through the rest of the instructions for installing the parts and then calibrating everything else. To upgrade the machine, we'll have two options. If we are connected online, we can go ahead and go into our settings, be under update, online update, and if there are any updates available, it should be able to see those and then update from this menu. The other option would be to update via a USB drive. So that email will have information on how to download the update file. We'll put that onto the root folder of a USB, plug that into the machine, and then we can go ahead and restart the printer. Now it's going to restart and then walk us through the initial update and the rest of the calibrations for the Hyperspeed upgrade. While this is booting up, we can go ahead and open up the other spools. I'll also get into Ideamaker later and show the differences for how we would function that using HyperKit. There is another option to switch or kind of toggle Ideamaker into Hyperspeed mode, and then that is going to give you immediate access to the new template settings for the Hyper materials and for the premium materials as well. So our upgrade, go ahead and initiate the install, Now it's going to run that installation. While this is extracting, like I had mentioned earlier, in Ideamaker. 1 second to approve this. We're actually almost complete with this upgrade, so I'll hold off on jumping into Ideamaker right away. I'd like to thank everyone who is watching the stream. If you have any questions about the upgrade kit while I'm going through this, please feel free to ask. So far, with the parts that have been running for this kit, it has been running very, very smoothly with the new Hyperspeed PLA and Hyper ABS. We have been getting speeds up to 2 or 3 times faster than the standard material and the standard templates. For larger prints, it is going to be a more significant time difference. So if you are continually or habitually printing very large or full volume print files, the upgrade kit is going to significantly reduce the overall print time for the machine. There is one thing to note: if we are running a machine with a hyper upgrade kit, you are going to want to just maintain the machine on a more frequent schedule, as it is running at much faster speeds. So if you are, relubricating the gantry, say every 6 months roughly, it's supposed to be every 300 print hours. But running the hyper upgrade kit, you'd be looking at relubricating closer to 150 or 100 print hours on it. But all that's recorded in the dashboard on the print screen. So as we're waiting for the last chunk of this update, the initial setup in Ideamaker, if we are accessing our templates here, there's an option in the upper left corner to toggle Ideamaker from the standard mode into hyperspeed mode. So just hitting that initially is going to immediately switch it over to a Hyperspeed Pro 3, and then it'll give us our templates for Hyperspeed PLA and Hyperspeed ABS. We do have templates available also for the standard PLA and ABS. These are referred to as the kind of L1 speeds, and then for the Hyper, the L2 speeds, respectively. So you will have different kind of brackets available. The standard premium template with the L1 speed is closer to double the speed most often, and then the hyper speed will get you closer to 3 times the speed, depending on the model size. There are a few files that I did have sliced beforehand as well. You see on the other machine over here, we are currently running the Hyperspeed kit with our Hyper ABS. Just printing out a quick benchy while we were streaming. This is currently going to take about half an hour left recording this. I do believe it is going to print a little bit quicker, but we are running at a significantly higher speed for this benchy. And then, of course, with the time estimates in Ideamaker, that is just going to give us a rough preview of the time. For the actual print time after it's finished, we can always go into print and dashboard, and the real print time is going to be recorded on the screen there. We'll always have our estimates, but they are, again, going to be estimated much faster and then actually running much faster than stock machine. Looking back over at our Hyper machine, that one is still going through the updates, so it's just a matter of time waiting on the software to update. And then we can get into running the calibrations with. You can see with this machine running at this speed, it is, again, very stable. We do want to keep this machine kind of locked down and in a stable position while it is running like this. So we do recommend, if you are running a hyperspeed kit, to have it on a stable table or on the carts below. We'll have the option. Can we switch over to camera 2, please? Thank you. The carts here will have the options to lock the wheels. If you are running the machine on one of these carts, I would recommend locking those for the extra stability when using the Hyper upgrade kit. Right. And then on this machine over here, we did just finish this update, so we'll need to restart, and then it'll step right into our upgrade calibration. And just quick restart, hitting the switch on the Mac. Go ahead and remove our drive now that the update has been completed. And then I will go ahead and open our material for the calibrations. I do already have the speed calibrator open, so that will be ready to go. And we'll have the new Hotend installed after the previous calibrator. Here we've gone ahead and gone through. So go ahead and install our calibrator on the left side. Lifting up the tab to remove the left Hotend. I'm going to go ahead and install our calibrator in its place. Now it's locked down. We'll confirm we have our calibrator installed on the left. And now we can let it run through the calibration. It is going to take a second here. Move the print head into the center of the print head, and then quickly move it back and forth along the axes to test the resonance frequency, essentially, with the machine. And it's going to assign that frequency for all of the motion with the hyperspeed. Yeah, we do still have audio. We're just working with the calibrator. See a couple other questions in the chat, specifically starting from the top, Joseph. Working with stock filament. It is possible to run stock materials through the Pro 3 with the Hyper Upgrade Kit. We do have the templates for premium PLA and premium ABS, that is the Raise3D branded material, already built into Ideamaker. So that will still run at higher speeds. Those templates should work okay with other third-party materials as well, same as standard speed templates. They may need some fine tuning a little bit more, so I would be more cautious running this machine at higher speeds with third-party materials. But you do have the option to run those materials at this speed as well. Not specifically locked into only the hyperspeed PLA and ABS going. Yes. So the calibrator in the left side of the printhead, what that is doing is it's measuring the frequencies essentially as the printhead is going back and forth along that axis. So it is going to set an offset frequency essentially. So as it is traveling across the volume, and slow down, and essentially that's going to cause vibrations. The machine is going to intentionally pulse and offset those to maintain stable motion at higher speed. This is just a matter of kind of very subtly moving that back and forth, measuring the frequency, and then setting it to compensate for that in sprints. Of course. Go ahead and let this run through the next couple calibrations. There's a question on differences in speed. I can specifically bring up a couple versions of Ideamaker here that are already sliced with these templates. Frequency. I'll go ahead and switch us over to the Ideamaker. So with our standard template, I've sliced this benchy at 400% scale so we can see the significant time difference here. For reference, printing a standard size benchy is about 1 hour and 40 minutes with the default template speeds. Changing it to the hyper printing speed reduced it down to about 50 minutes, but with much larger part size, we'll see a much more significant difference in time. The standard here is 44 hours and 4 minutes. Alternatively, a benchy sliced with the hyperspeed upgrade is going to take only 12 hours and for the same size. So there's a significant reduction. I was going through the last phase, finishing up the calibration. There we go. Now we have our calibration that was successful. We can go ahead and apply that. And now it wants to install the hyperspeed hotends, and we'll start going through the calibration process. We can remove both of these now. And replace them with the hyperspeed hotend from the kit. So not only are these fancy replacements for the red covers, they also have significantly redesigned heat sinks that you'll notice, and that's going to facilitate the higher speed and better flow of the material over the original hotend as well. But these will easily just slide into the top, just like these standard hotend assemblies. And now we're ready to calibrate those and continue on. Hyper hotend installed. Start our calibration process. Now for this, it does recommend having Hyper PLA in both nozzles. Since we only have one spool of Hyper PLA, we'll go ahead and cut a section of the material from the end, and then use that in one of the hot ends. So one will have the full sped directly, the other one will have our side material. Load this up into left. For our other section here, I'll go ahead and feed that just directly in. We peel out on both. We are running 0.4 nozzles. And starting the left probe offset. So it should start going into the probe offset. It'll have a separate section for loading the material, and we'll walk through the rest of these. I'll go ahead and just get the first Z offset profile started. The rest of this is going to walk through the calibrations for X, Y, and Z and dual all on its own. That can be a bit of a long process, so I won't go through all of that. We can dive a bit more into Ideamaker to show some slicing with the standard material as well. And then we are coming up on finishing our ABS bench on the Pro 3 Plus with the upgrade kit as well. I believe we are having plans for the Hyper PLA and Hyper ABS to come in different colors. Currently, it is just going to come in the kind of white natural color for both of those. So using the feeler card that comes with the machine, we just want to set our initial offset for that nozzle. Stepping it closer to the nozzle until we eventually make contact with the card, and then let it run through its fine-tuning from there. Now this is just recommending procedure for installing the machine and getting the Hyper PLA loaded. We're going to heat up the left nozzle, let us load in the material, and once that's loaded, it'll start through its calibration. So question on if the Hyper FFF can be used with ABS and carbon-infused nylon. Currently, it is possible to run standard ABS and the Hyper ABS for the higher speed. Carbon fiber nylons, currently we are just working on those templates, and we're working on hyper composite materials as well. So we will have the option for running composite materials at the L2 speeds, the 2 to 3 times faster speeds. And then we will be working on templates for carbon fiber nylons at the lower speeds. Currently, though, we are still working on templates. Quick update on the Benchy on the Pro 3 Plus. We have made significant progress on this, and we have just about 15 minutes left until that one. Again, this is printing with the Hyper ABS. PTG is going to, again, be possible with the machines. For that, I would recommend modifying or building a new PTG template off of the existing template, you do still have full control over the Ideamaker templates at the Hyperspeed as well. So we are working on having a PTG template published from us, but for the time being, adjusting the temperature for an existing template is going to still work with PTG. Back on our other machine, it has hit our temperature, so we can go ahead and load this nozzle, then start our calibration. If you're seeing ghosting on some prints with the HyperKit, I would recommend going into our support system and creating a support ticket. The tech team will work with you a little bit closely on that. It can adjust some finer settings to reduce ghosting on there, but we need to get into the actual settings specifically for your machine, fine tune it that way. That's best done through support. I see another question for if the hyper hotend can be switched back and forth on the machine. The standard hotend without calibrating it. So you should be able to, you always have the option to re-input the offset settings for a hotend. That's just done from settings, and then an option for maintenance. Offset calibration will get you back into the calibration menu, and then from there, if you select offset settings at the top, then you'll have direct access to the values. So it should remember the hotends and have those set in. If it doesn't, it'll tell you to recalibrate for a new hotend, or we have the option to go in and input the values and make sure they're correct as well. So you can switch between multiple hotend assemblies, and then you can use the same materials with the Hyperspeed hotends, just back at the original setting. But now that the filament has loaded, I've stepped it past that. It is now going directly into the calibration step. Currently, we're just heating before we are running our calibration test prints. The calibration test print specifically is going to print out a sheet of squares that'll be at different heights, and then it's going to have you hold it up to the screen to test it for any light gaps, and then the first square that has visible light gaps is the one you want to select. You can also select or look for the one that has, say, a smoother surface. You will notice more of a kind of loose stringier surface for squares that are printed further away, or deeper grooves in material, or kind of rougher surfaces, ones where the nozzle is too. You have a very smooth square with no gaps. Actually, while this one is heating, back on our other machine, we just completed the ABS benchy. From that, back out of the initial menu. Not need to pull another task from the cloud, so now we're back here. And then I did want to check. The estimate for this one was about 50 minutes. Going into print dashboard. It looks like I did, unfortunately, have this machine set to not record those to the dashboard. But we started it, I would say, 20 minutes before we started the stream. So we were looking at about, yeah, just around 50 minutes. So still accurate to Ideamaker estimates. Go ahead and flex that. And there is our Hyperbenchy. Started just before the stream and completed before we are done. And clean this off. While the machine's still warm and we have the time, I'll go ahead and start another one. back on the other machine. I do believe that one is starting the calibration. This machine is just running an initial purge line, and it's going to go into the rest of the calibration. While we are wrapping up the other calibration print on the second machine back on our plus, we're about to start that next benchy. Finishing up the purge line, then of course that's going to dive right into the center of the build plate, start running that out of perimeter, putting down our first layer is go. And back on the Regional Pro 3, we are just finishing up that calibration. We can go ahead and remove this from the build plate and give it its new values. So what we were looking for is up against the screen. And then specifically, we're looking for which block doesn't leak light. I'm going to go with this one here. The rest of these are looking a bit rougher. It'll be either of these two. I do think this one's a little bit rougher, again, according to the texture. This one here is a bit more uniform. We'll go ahead and go number 7. So then that sets our value. And then it's just going to move through the rest of the calibration. I'm going to let this one carry on. But to wrap up before the end of the stream, what we would do in Ideamaker after running through these calibrations. In Ideamaker, once we have the machine calibrated and ready to start printing, really all that is needed for it. We'll still slice most of the functions going to run exactly the same. Go ahead and still bring in our part. Then start slicing up at the top once we have it in the correct orientation. To change from the normal mode back to hyperspeed, it's just this toggle option up in the upper left. So you can go ahead and slice with all of the standard templates or switch it to hyper. That'll give us access to a newer selection of materials for premium and standard. And then the templates here for a 0.2 layer height and a 0.15 millimeter height. You'll still have the same functionality of going into the advanced settings to edit some of these, as well as generating support structures and restoring the template down there. So we always have a baseline template to work off of. With slicing, this is just going to run with the new settings. We now have our L1 speed for the Benchy that can be sent off to the machine, exporting or uploading all through. But now the machine is on a hyperspeed mode. Ideamaker is in its hyperspeed upgrade as well. So that is going to conclude it for us today. I would like to thank everyone for joining us for the stream. I hope you got a lot of information out of this on how to upgrade it. And then we're pleasantly surprised to see the Plus running here. You have everything running at higher speeds, and keep an eye out for the expanded selection of materials as we continue working on this and hope to bring it to other machines as well. But anyway, that's going to do it for us today with the stream. I've been Nick. Thank you very much.